COVID-19 restrictions were initially put in place as it was feared that the unknown nature of the virus would overload our healthcare capacity, which would in result cause a downward spiral of healthcare provisions and increased level of deaths. These measures were initially introduced with a short time frame of several weeks in mind. It is the case today that the virus remains within our society, and however, more is now known about the virus than when it first entered Ireland back in March. A vaccine for the virus will not be available within the next 18 months, as per our current knowledge at a minimum. And considering the rate of fatalities of COVID-19 in comparison to other established human illnesses and the potential long-term consequences for society, I feel that a reassessment of the objectives of how we manage the virus should be considered, Minister. The intensive care unit capacity is a critical metric for determining the significance of level of cases. While it is understood that it is beneficial to reduce the number of cases in general, as this ultimately reduces the number of deaths, the ratio between the number of cases and deaths and our ability to impact this Ceann Comhairle should be considered, and the necessary investment in healthcare capacity should be prioritised by the Government to deal with that issue. If it is the case that we have an adequate level of ICU provisions to deal with the level of cases within society at present, then we should look to balance this against the level of restrictions throughout our society and the impact that such restrictions are having on the quality of life of our citizens. It must also be noted that the nature of restrictions must be questioned. Under the medium-term nature of the restrictions, as compared to the short-term measures in March, people are likely to forgo social interactions and reduce their social contacts, Minister. And this can be seen in the increase in uncontrolled social gatherings. A logical conclusion to this Ceann Comhairle, considering the balancing act between ensuring hospital capacity is not overrun and the societal damage that restrictions are causing, a strong case can be made for reopening controlled environments such as restaurants, hotels and pubs. Overall, clearer objectives in terms of the significance of the meaning of the level of cases need to be considered, alongside the potential long-term consequences of restricting parts of our economy. If the capital investment is required within the healthcare sector, the initial upfront cost will be mitigated by the potential savings of lost economic growth of maintaining a level of restrictions. In terms of damage to our economy, a 2020 World Bank report recognised the need to incentivise a switch towards more sustainable production processes, including a move towards a great digitalisation and green investment, which will enhance the productivity of our economy, Ceann Comhairle. There must be a recognition that the dynamic of the economy has changed, and it is not sustainable to continue to support industries in their current form, and a realignment of resources should be undertaken during the budget. At the same time, we must be conscious of the economic scarring of certain sections of our society in adapting to this changing work environment. Systems must be put in place to ensure that reskilling and job reactivation schemes are put in place so the levels of inequality within the economy do not widen, as stressed within the report. Large capital investment programmes should be pursued across several areas, where the economic return of the investment will be redeemed over time. With current Irish borrowing costs at a record low levels, this is an excellent opportunity to raise the necessary capital to pursue such initiatives, Minister. In terms of the impact on young people, must be more of a priority for the Government. The long-term development of the country is dependent upon the buy-in of young people to the institutional structures of our state. And if the level of trust that young people have towards the state is diminished, it can make it harder to have a functioning institutional frameworks within society and to mobilise knowledge and productive capacities of a significant sector of our society. If this issue is not addressed, it will make it far more difficult to return to the level of economic growth that is required to return our economy, our country and society to the previous levels of standards of living that we enjoyed.